Hello. I am explaining the assignment for November 3rd. So, on November 3rd, you are going to finish the work that we started on November 1st. So, on November 1st, please do recall that you completed a do now. If you didn't complete the do now on November 1st, please do so at this time. Then I'd like you to move back to the post where we started on Monday, November 1st. As you can see in the post, it says November 1st and 3rd classwork. So when you go into November 1st and 3rd classwork, you'll see the directions. So we've already done steps 1, 2, and 3. Part of 3 we reviewed up until the day 1 slides end. So if you haven't already done so, please do find the sim. So on Monday, we went through ClassLink, we went into our plate motion, chapter 1, lesson 3, and we opened the sim. And that showed us the globe view of the tectonic plates. That showed us the top view. So when we clicked on a zone, it showed us the zoomed in version, the top view, and the cross-section view of the tectonic plates. And we were able to move that around. You could add continents. Don't forget, you could use the toggle to look at the surface of the Earth. And then after you use the sim, you are going into slide 9 and 10 in your interactive notebook, which is posted in a separate post on Google Classroom. Then today we are going to review a little more of the Google Slides and then complete slide 11 in your interactive notebook and page 14 in your paper workbook. So I'm going to go ahead and open this Google Slide. So if you are ever absent, you will always see the Google Slide attached, and that way you can go through and find right what you need, every detail. Oftentimes I'll have videos embedded to help you determine what you need. So notice this says day 2, analyzing maps. So some examples of patterns. We are going to look at overlapping patterns to give us information about our plate boundaries. So something that we observe to be similar over and over again is a pattern. When we're comparing these two maps, you'll notice the map on the top is the plate boundary map, and the second map is the earthquake map. And we'll observe these two different maps to gather information about Earth's outer layers. First, we're going to look at the plate boundary map. So you'll notice that there's 4 different areas that have been put a box around 4 specific areas that we're going to look at in more detail. But I do want you to notice where all of those plate boundaries are. That red line, you'll notice the key on the bottom left of your screen shows you that those red lines are indeed plate boundaries. And we know that Earth's outer layer is made of hard solid rock and then divided into plates. So based on what we see on this map and what we already know, what do you think a plate boundary is? So we know that a plate boundary is the place where 2 plates meet, 2 of Earth's tectonic plates. So we have the ocean in between, so that's the lighter blue, and then we have our continents, which are shaded a little bit darker. And we can see that please ignore the bell, I apologize. We can see that that area is separated by those red plate boundary lines. Notice that the key shows us that the red lines are plate boundaries, and there are 4 areas on the map marked A, B, C, and D. These do not represent anything special on Earth, but they are there to help us understand the activity because we're going to focus in on those a little bit. So on the next map, we'll look at some earthquake data. And an earthquake is a shift at the tectonic plate boundary, and there's tremors that happen in the earth. So it's a sudden shaking of Earth's surface. So the ground shaking that happens during an earthquake tells us something about Earth's outer layer. The shaking is evidence that Earth's outer layer can move. So in part 2, we're going to look, and we're not going to actually overlay the map. But we are going to compare the two maps side by side and notice where we see a pattern. So notice that along the continent down here, the continental boundaries, we see a lot of earthquakes. I want you to notice another one down the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Those are two that I'll focus on. So now, when we're comparing these two maps, you'll notice that the plate boundary goes along, as does the incidence of earthquakes. You'll also notice this red plate boundary down the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and the incidence of earthquakes. So what you're seeing is an overlap. You're seeing a pattern of earthquakes at plate boundaries. So now when we overlay those two maps and I put all the data on one image, you can see that it is very clear that there's a pattern and a connection between our plate boundaries and our earthquakes. So that's what you are going to continue to think about. And why does this pattern exist? So geologists, look for patterns in landforms and geologic events in order to better understand Earth. So that is the end of the Google slides that are attached. And now you're going to be able to go complete slide 11 in your interactive notebook and then page 14 in your paper workbook. I'm going to go back and show you that our interactive workbook was posted on October 28th. So you are going to open your interactive workbook, and once again, we'll look back at the post. You are going to complete slide 11 and then page 14 in your paper workbook. Once you complete both of those things with concrete, solid answers, well thought out, then you are done with the activities for today. Have a wonderful day.